Alright, so I'll start sharing the screen. So is this screen visible? Hello.
Yes.
And okay. So today I'll be basically completing Go Django, and from today on, you need to start working on an individual project of your own that you have to submit, I guess, at the end of your internship. That is in 2 weeks, I guess. Okay, so I will complete core Django today, and then you can start building your project. And from tomorrow onwards, I'll be teaching some extra Django stuff as they come up, and I'll be from now on. I'll be giving a lot of wait a second. From today on, I'll be giving a lot of Django based exercises because today we'll be completing Django, so you can start working on your project, and the assignment will be a sort of practice for you, right? So we'll start. First of all, um, what are models? All right, models are basically your tables in databases. Like I told you to study a little bit of databases. So what exactly is how model? First of all, a model goes into this file, sorry, models.py, which is pre-created, which is already created when you create a project, right? So all of your models go into this, all right? So what your models are basically are your tables inside a database, right? So you initialize your models in this file, that is models.py, right? So to create a model, you just say class and then the name of the model. Let's say I'll say to do test for now, right? And it inherits the models dot model class, right? When you do this, it basically sets a lot of other functions to it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But and I'll just move this. Right. So we named our class something, and then we initialize the fields. Like we did with forms, we'll initialize the fields. Right. So sorry. Let's say a model to-do list will have a title. So I will say the title uh, a variable, and I'll say models dot character field. Right. Now the arguments that are passed are basically similar to how you initialize the various fields in a table. Right? So I'll say max length equals to, since it's a title, I'll say 20 maximum, and I'll say default is equals to none. Right? Now this means that in terms of databases, what it will look like is title text and limit of 20. Right? In terms of SQL or any other database you're using, this is what it would look like. Like this is converted into your SQL commands. So this is what the above thing looks like in SQL. Like not exactly like this, but yeah, you get the point. I'll say the title, I'll say the date, say creation, not creation date, I'll just say date for now. And I'll say models dot value something called a date field. You can use a date field. Use a date field, alright? And I'll say on um, we at the date field one of the class. So at the description models dot field, and because this is a description, I'll say next length is equals to 255. That is the Unicode limit. And I'll say default. I'll say default is equals to none, and then I'll say null is equals to false. And what this does is this basically says that this field is required. And let's say I do not want the title, so I say null is equals to true. So it can be null, right? And I'll say something like done, and we'll call it not done. We'll call it status equals to models dot field, not car field. We'll just call it boolean to see if it's done or not. Boolean field, and we'll say default is equals to false. All right. This means that by default, when it is not created, as in the value is not given, then the default would be false. That means not done. And the last thing we have to add is the date field. So it would be date is equals to models dot date field, and we'll just call it to be put auto on now. Yes. Auto now add is equals to, I guess this is it. Right? So I'll just go over this thing once and tell you what I did. Alright. So here this is the title, which takes a maximum length of 20, and it can be null. Wait a second, this, yeah. And then I set a description which has a maximum length of 255. Its default is none, and it cannot be null. Alright, there has to be some field. Alright, then the status, which is done or not, and by default it's none. And the date. Now this auto add now basically means as soon as you create the object, the date that is in the system, that would be put in. All right, and since null is equals to 2, I think I can remove. No, that isn't true, right? So now that we have basically did this, need be now to register it. All right, so to register your database, you basically go into admin and you say admin dot site dot register, and I'll just first of all models import, it's called to do list, right? Okay. To do list. All right, so what I did now is I registered this model with the admin page, and I'll tell you what it is when we get to it. All right, this is the models page, and we basically registered it. Right. So after you make any change to either this page or sorry, this file or this file, you have to run something called migrations. All right. So you will say Python manage.ui make migrations. What is the manage.ui? Okay, it has to be to Python to CLS, and we'll run this again. Why is my models not found? Here is models. Where is it? Here is models. And I said from this import this. I did not work. And let's get this. And let's try this. What are the issues? And this got reference to do list. When I say models, okay, yeah, this has to be dot models. Isn't this file? Yeah. What happened here is basically when I said models, it was basically going to the Django models, right? And it was going to the Django models. Should expected expression where? Okay, yeah. So what it was doing when I said models is basically it was going to the Django models, right? But when I said dot models, it means look inside this package, not outside it. It means inside this package, inside these files, and not outside these files. All right. So this is what that dot models meant. So I'll say make migrations. Right. So you will see what the change you made. Like it said that I created a model called to-do list, and then I'll say Python manage.py migrate, and this finalizes your migration. Right. So what this did is I'll just show you. Yeah, this created this file. Like this entire file is created when you call migration. All right. When you call make migration, a file is created inside the migrations folder. All right, and this entire thing is created. That is the time the migration was made. It imports the models and migrations. Then, as you can see, this is what it did. All right, it created a database. It created a table which had the name to do list, like the name of a class, and this is the fields in it. All right, the ID is a auto field, like it says right here, big auto field. So ID is a auto field. It is generated by itself. You do not need to basically initialize it, right? So now that we have made this, I'll show you what just happened. All right. So I'll just say Python manage first of all. Okay. Now I'll do something called create a super user. Python manage.py create super user. User, there is no space in between. Right. So what is happening here is when I run this, it will ask me for stuff. To be admin, this will be email, and I'll just type in the password to be something. But as you can see, I type in the password and it is too similar to the username. I'll just say no and create something else. I'll say this, this, this. Why is the password not matching? Let me just make something simple. Too short. I'll just say, yeah, let's create it anyway. Right, so I created a super user. Now, what this is basically the admin of our web page. Right, when I created a super user, I made an admin to the page. I'll show you what this is. A second, I'll say Python nh.py run server. I'll give it a second. And let it work. And when I say 1, 2, 7, task 1, 2, 7 slices. Right, so we looked at this, but when I created a super user, I can basically access this thing. I can basically go /admin, and this would take me to this page. Right, so I'll just type in my credentials, right, and I log in. Don't say, and as you can see, I went in. I am in this administration place. Right, this is the admin page. When we create a super user, this page is created. Right, with the credentials and everything. This is created, and it is there can only be one super user, right, who can manage all of this. So we'll talk about this groups and user when we talk about the user authentication part, but we'll look at this one now. Right, we created this list, we created this database just now when we were changing the models.py file. So I'll add a new data, add some new data here. I'll say title 1, and I'll give it a description of description 1. All right, so now you can see the status option is given. I'll just uncheck it because this is not done right now. And as you can see, there is no date field or ID field because those are auto generated. All right, so I'll just say save, and we created our first to do object. Right, now as you can see, it says to do object 1. We can basically change this by going to our file here and saying define str and saying return whatever we want there. All right, so I'll say self.title. Right, so when I define the str function, whatever is returned is basically how this would be typed. All right, so I'll just do this again and I'll show you in a second. As you can see, this changed here. All right, it was earlier called to-do list object 1, now it's called title 1. Right, this is how the function str is used. I don't know what these functions are called, but in classes we when we were studying classes, we looked at these, right? This, yeah, these are called dunder functions. All right, so when you define the str dunder function, this is how it changes the total representation in our admin page. Right, so I'll just go inside this now, and as you can see, there's a title, there's a description, and there's a status. All right, so this is one way to add something, but this is not the convenient way. All right, so we'll be basically, yeah, I will turn off the server and I'll tell you, I'll show you the commands of how we can basically put entries into a database. Right, so I'll say for now python manage.py shell. Right. Now what this command does is it loads up the Python session with all of these settings, all right, all of these apps and all the settings. All right. So this is completely similar to a Python shell, but calling this using this command, using this Python manage.py, basically loads up these settings here. These settings here. So moving on, I'll just show you. One second. Mm, yeah. So uh, as we did earlier, I'll just dot models import to do list. We'll basically import a models here. Name is not globals. Import to do list. Module found. Um, what is his name? Is not globals. Let me just. Yeah, give me a second. This is a new error that I have encountered. This is system error. What's it called is not in global. Okay, so let's try something else. I will say main dot models. Yeah, this works. Right. So now that I've imported the to-do class, now I can do all kinds of things with it. Let's say I'd say to do list dot objects dot all. All right. What this will do is will basically uh, give us all of these created to-do list, right? I press enter and it gives a uh, and it gives us this user set which has one object called to-do list, and because of this function right here, this is how it is represented. All right. So let me just create some more um, objects, and I'll say now there are two ways to do this. I'll just show them both of those. First is the variable method. All right. So let's say I say a variable instance. All right, and I say to list, and I say description is equals to description 2. And I press enter, and all right, so this created to do instance, and when I say instance dot save, all right, when I press enter, now when I call this save method, like in the background, it did some stuff. It converted this code. It converted this entire code, and this object. Like, it converted it into SQL commands, and basically ran those commands and save that into a database. Right. So I can again say dot object dot all. Oh, yeah, yeah, this was meant to happen. I had to just default it to Like now, what is happening here is I basically did not say title here. So I'll just put in a try except here. Try else return LTL. But I have made a human error, so I'll have to run this entire thing again. And because I made a change to char, except not levels. And because I made a change to the model file, I have to make the migrations again, and I have to say migrate. So I did this, so I'll run the shell again. The shell command is this one. So I'll say from main dot models report to do list. Alright, so now I can say to this dot objects dot all. I should not. Yeah. The one thing I did is not creating another. Just say 127 dot title. This. I'm going to set it to null. It, I'll just move it. As you can see, there's nothing here. So the str function is having trouble returning none. Alright. So what the problem is, I'll just remove this. Yeah, no. What I'm trying to do. You know what? I'll just remove this. Smaller is a lot of work. Make migrations again. Which in this metrics I will not have to do this and the server again. And I'll remove this. This is creating an issue. Yes, remove this and I'll just yeah. Right, so now I'll define the str function again. It will be return self title. I did not think this example through, which caused a lot of trouble, which has been rectified. What the issue was here, this is a character field, right? And the default I set it to none by mistake, right? And because it was none, it couldn't print a string when I called it out. Right? So when I called out the object, it could not print out a string, right? That was the issue we were facing. That should not be an issue now. I'll just create the same thing and I'll save it. And yeah, as you can see. Now here I did not give it a title. Correct? I did not give it a title, but the title was auto-generated here because I said the default is title itself. Correct? Now this could have been none or null, but as you can see, because of the str function, this cannot be anything other than a string itself. Right? So this could not have been a none type. So I had to set the default to title. Right. So yeah. So as I just did, creating an instance and then saving the instance is one way of creating an entry. The other way is to do list, that is that, and create, and then give it description is equals to description 3 and press enter. Publish and create object. Um, yeah, so the create thing is not working for some reason. Yes, it was in the earlier Django version, which has been removed, right? So we'll just ignore that. There's been a lot of mistakes today, but yeah. You can basically create an entry inside a table by calling the instance, by calling a variable instance and just saying to do list, giving it the uh, things it wants like this, and 4, and now I can say, let's say status is equals to 2, right? I say instance, and when I say instance dot save, and this create another instance inside it, and now we can say this, and as you can see there's 3 objects here, right? And all of these are represented. Yeah, all of these are represented using this title, right? So now you can say to list dot objects dot first. So this first basically fetches us this first thing, alright. Then I can say last works, right? Yeah, fetches us the last thing, and or and then you can also loop through it, right? And then you can do something like, let's say, even, all right, and we can say to do list dot objects dot first. I did this, manages it exit successful to the instance. I'll just do this dot s. Right. So I called the first object and I printed the description. Its description. The- I can say something similar like the status and the date. Right. So now you can see the date maybe a little looks a little weird, right? It says date time dot date 2021 7/19. Right. So why is this? Is because when we use a date time field, right, when we use a date time field, date field, it basically creates a date object for us. Right. Now you can say similar thing like the time field. This will again break the code because date time field and date field are not convertible. So this will create error, so we will not do this. Right. So this is how you basically create a table and make new entries inside the table. Alright, you can do the same thing here. For example, like let me just go inside this, inside main, inside where's the view file, here's the view file, and let's say I create a URL like slash create, which is connected to an index. Alright, and then I get the response, and it says method. Then I can say this post is equals to response.post. I'll just show you creating an object. Okay, there is a time for this. I guess there's time. No, there's no time. So you save the response as post here. Now, like I told you in the earlier classes, you can say something like post and the uh, entry, right? So I guess there was one entry called complete. Complete. Because I completely forgot what it was. Go back to this again. Yeah, so I can say text box, right? And this will get me whatever was in the text box, right? And I can do something like p1 is equals to do list title is equals to this, and then say p1 dot save. Right, this will create a new entry in new entry inside a table. All right, so you can do something like this if you want, if not if, to create entries using a web page. All right, so first of all, what you will do is you will basically create a form which will take a let's say, yeah, which will take the title. Right now the title is not required, so it will be left to option. All right, so it will be optional. Then you will create description field. Then you will create a status, and that's it. You will not create a date field because that is auto generated because of this. All right, so you will first of all create a form. Then you will throw that response to a view function, and then you will check if the form is valid, and if the form is valid you will get the data, and then you will save the data. And if you want, you can then you will return something. All right, never forget to return something inside the view, otherwise the program will crash. You can just basically refresh the page again. All right, you can just call the same page again, that is no issue. And if you are using a form, all right, uh, Django created form. All right, so change this form such that it has all of these fields and all the settings you need for this. All right, and then you change this like this here, and you use this entire thing. You check if it's post, and then you create a field form and you check if the form is valid, and then you get the data out of it and do what we did right here again. Basically pass the data to the to do field and you save it. All right, so this will create a new instance to your database. All right, in your database inside your table. Right, so I'll just show you what uh, database basically looks like. Let's say db browser. Yeah, this all right. Let it just open. Right. So this is a software that lets you look into your database using GUI. All right, using graphical user interface. So we'll just open the database that we have. I'll just go into desktop. I'll just go into here. I'll go into Django, Python 2, and SQL. We'll open this, and as you can see, there are a bunch of tables here. Right now, what uh, what a user created table would look like is this. Or like the app name, then the underscore, and then the name of the class in all lower cases. Alright, this is all managed by Django, and this is the naming convention. So you need to get used to it. Alright, so I'll just show you what this looks like. Well, here it is. Alright, so we created three entries. The IDs are auto-generated. The descriptions are these. The status is 001, which is false, false, true, obviously. And this is the date they were created. Now, because this is only the date field, the time is not shown, and these are the titles. Like, this is what your um, database would basically look like. Alright, so I'll just come back and I'll discuss today's assignment. Right. So in the assignment, what you basically have to do is you need to create a model, all right, with a title, a description. We'll just skip the status for now, or you can use the status if you want, and an auto-generated date. All right, you will generate a model using these four fields, and then you will generate a page where where there will be a form which will have all of these fields to fill out, and then on clicking submit, this data is passed back to the um, server, and that server processes it and creates an entry inside the database. Right. So this is what you will be doing. You will be generating a to-do list page. Alright. You need not put any neat decorations there. But you just need to create entries inside it. Right. So what you will be submitting is I'll just tell you what you will be submitting inside the assignment. Sorry, but yeah, this is what you will be doing. I'll just stop sharing. All right, so all of that what I've told you is clear, right? If anyone has any doubt regarding this, they can ask me, and after the class, I'll share the models documentation if you want to experiment with something, and I'll be creating the assignment either today evening, that is by 7, or by today 11 p.m. maximum. Right, so be ready, experiment with Django as much as you want because it will be your um, uh, exit project. Right, this is called an exit project. So you will have to use Django in your exit project. You can sorry, you can ask me if you're facing any issues and start working on your projects now because the notice you'll be provided later would be very short. Right? It would be 3 to 4 days to 5 days maximum. Right? You need to create a minimal kind of um, website. It does not have to be too fancy, but you can create what you want. Right? The website can be as fancy as you want or as simple as you want, but try to do everything you can inside the website. Alright, so just going over what I said in the entire session. Right, there will be an Assignment today, we will have to use the models and create new entities inside them, right? And then I told you to start working on a project, and then I told you to experiment with Django, and if you have any doubts, to ask me the same, right? So it's 55, and I guess we can play around with sorry, Django models tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll just finish the entire uh, core Django thing, and then we'll talk about user authentication, APIs, and stuff, right? But you should, I'm saying this for the last time, start working on a Django project, right? Because it would be useful for your ELN project, and it would be useful for your exit project and your experience, right? So start working on it. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.